Hey, this is Akua Jamfi. I'm the founder of the British Blacklist, and welcome to a very special panel discussion to celebrate the release of the film Miss Juneteenth. Hosted by We Are Parable and myself, we'll be joined by two special guests from Dope Black Mums. Also, we will be hosting a watch-along of the film and a Q&A with the director, Channing Godfrey Peoples, and lead actress, Nicole Bahari, this Sunday, September 27th at 7 p.m. You can watch this via the British Blacklist YouTube. It's wonderful to have you guys here. Please introduce yourself. I'll start with who I can see to my left, which is Natalie.
Hi, so I'm Natalie and Natalie Duvall. I'm 1/5 of the Dope Black Mums podcast. I'm also an actress. I think I'm most well known for is Brothers with No Game. I think that's the that's the series that everyone kind of goes, I know you from somewhere, which I absolutely love because it's absolutely fantastic series to be a part of. And I also have my own business where we create Christmas decorations of colour, and I work for a huge corporate brand where we give wings to people and their ideas.
Wicked. And Carina.
Yes, I am Carina White. I'm also 1/5 of the Dope Black Mums podcast. I'm a branding marketing specialist within sports and entertainment. I'm a co-owner of a business, also a school governor, a mum, and everything kind of in between. So yeah, got my hands in lots of different pies.
We're here to talk about Miss Juneteenth. It's a brilliant film that just it's centered around beauty pageantry, but I think the core of the story is more about motherhood and the relationship between this mother and daughter. Maybe just get your first reactions about the film. You've both seen it, right?
Yeah, it was really good. I loved seeing that side of America, and I loved seeing these actors who a lot of them are newcomers to me. And yeah, I just thought it was such a coming of age or a real beautiful story about motherhood and about what it is to be a young mother as well, and also a mother that wasn't prepared for motherhood.
For me, I absolutely loved the film. I find that with a lot of American films, especially Black films, they tend to showcase what it's like being a Black person in America. And this wasn't about that. It was just about being a young mum. It didn't really matter whether she was Black, white. It wasn't about their experience within the context of America. It was about their own kind of individual stories and not part of like a wider generic story of Black Americans. But yeah, like Natalie, it was an absolutely amazing film. I loved it. I could identify a lot with a lot of the themes between the main character and her daughter, not to spoil anything, but yeah, definitely could identify a lot of the different themes that they experienced and dynamics.
That's one of the things I wanted to pick up on, because that relationship between mother and daughter, I definitely recognised similar age daughter as the character in the film. Her name is Kai, and obviously Nicole Bahari plays Turquoise Jones, the single mother. And even with this thing, with her being a single mother, it wasn't laboured, even though it was an important factor of the story. It wasn't like, oh, she's a downtrodden single mother. Those things were hard. I don't know, there's something about that I really liked and related to. How do you guys, you said that you related to her, but is there a moment, again with no spoilers, that really resonated with you the most within the film?
Yeah, she's an everyday kind of mum, so you relate to her because you've all had one of those experiences, and you've had one of those arguments with your teenager. You've had one of those arguments maybe with the father of your child. And so it felt also relatable. And also she just looked like us. She looked like she'd be one of my friends. And I think that's what made me relate to her even more. She's around my age, around 35, 36. Or maybe she's a bit younger actually in the film. But she just looks like someone that I would talk to and someone that I could go out with. So you instantly relate to it. She didn't seem untouchable, basically.
Yeah, I think for me, the key kind of scene that related to me was when it was Kai's birthday. and they were having electricity problems. And it's like, it doesn't matter as a mum what your circumstances are or what's going on in the background that you might be worried about when it comes to providing for your child and making sure that they get to enjoy key moments in their life, like their birthday. You make it work and you still give them what you can. And I really related to that, because, you know, there's been times with my daughter where I haven't had money to, you know, do things with her, or whether it's her birthday or a summer holiday or Easter holidays, and, you know, I haven't had money, but you make it work. You do what you can to make sure, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, but you just do what you can to ensure that you still are able to give your child special moments in whatever form that might be.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And one thing I saw, I really appreciated in the depiction of a mother was the fact that sometimes, you know, when it's stuff, I was going to swear, stuff hits the wall, it hits the fan, but it's, you know, through it all, she smiles, she keeps smiling. And even when her child is challenging her and not being appreciative in the moment, she's still got that plastered smile on her face, even though she's probably wounded inside. And I thought that was really, really powerful. So just, we're all mothers here. So can you, like, guys, reflect on what were your expectations of motherhood when you were a young girl, before you actually became a mother? What were your what did you think motherhood would be?
Easy. My mum made motherhood look so easy, so easy. I remember I took my daughter shopping the other day and ended up spending like hundreds of pounds, and I was cussing. I was like, no, man, you got to stop growing, because what is this? Like, and then I sat in the car and I just thought about the moments where there was 3 of us, and I remember we'd go shopping and we'd all be like, oh, mum, can I get this? Can I get this? Can I get this? And she would always get us something. And looking back on it now as a mum myself and thinking, you know, having to buy things for all 3 kids and making sure that one doesn't feel left out and whatever. I just thought, like, she made things look so easy, just small things like taking us shopping, or, you know, making sure my mum wasn't a single mum. My dad was very, very present in our lives and they were together, but, you know, they just made it look so easy, even when I was being a brat and being feisty and answering back and whatever. Like, now I'm getting to that age where my daughter's getting to that answering back age and thinks she knows everything, and I'm like, how did my mum do this? She made it look so easy. Like, I thought motherhood was going to be an absolute breeze. I don't know about you, Nat, but honestly, my mum made it look so easy.
I didn't think of motherhood as anything, to be honest with you. I just knew I was going to be a mum. I was a very girly girl. So I had the dolls, I had everything as a child. And I loved playing mums and dads with my friends. So I just always knew that I was going to be a mum. I just didn't think about the work that came with being a mum. You know, it's just like, you think, oh yeah, I'm going to be slim, or I'm going to do this, and you don't actually think about the work that it takes to actually get to that stage. So yes, it was a lovely shock when it came through, and I think that's the beauty of pregnancy. That's the beauty of your body starts to prepare itself for this journey, for motherhood. You stop sleeping from about 6 months pregnant just because you can't find a good angle anyway. And so not being able to sleep from 6 months pregnant up until, I mean, what year is it now? Still haven't had a good night's sleep. But your body prepares yourself for that. So I didn't think about it too much. I just knew that everything was going to be slightly stressful, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was a young mum, so I was 23, and a tomboy wasn't part of the crew that was going to have the baby first, and I did. So I was totally unprepared. And one thing I wish I kind of knew was the fact that from the minute you get pregnant, you're worrying about carrying to term, because, you know, there are definitely complications that can arise. Then you're worrying about giving birth, complications there, and then you are not told that for the rest of your life you will never rest again, because you've got something that depends on you. You need to raise properly, and you need to shape into this human being that doesn't affect the world.
you're responsible.
Yeah.
And that's the theory. You are responsible
Yeah.
for shaping a mind.
Yes.
You're responsible for what they do right, what they do wrong. Like when they're babies, when they're toddlers, and when their brains are like plasticine. So it's up to you to mold it and to make sure, which is what I thought the beauty of this film was, is that she was so desperate that her daughter didn't make the same mistakes she did. That's what you do all the time. You try not to make sure that your children aren't making the same mistakes, and that they are on, maybe not that you made loads of mistakes, but they're just on a different path maybe, and you just want them to like avoid all that.
What were some of the positive revelations after having your first child that you didn't expect? Like you know, I am so surprised at how much joy I get from my child, and I'm really, sometimes I look at her and I'm like, I actually made you. Yeah, though I had some help, but whatever. I made this human being that's functioning, walking, talking, got her own mind, is a beautiful soul. And it's really, it sometimes gives me goosebumps. Like this is what I've done. Is like my biggest, I always say she's my best project yet. So what were some of your positive revelations after having your child and children?
I think, you know, I love, a favorite show of mine is This Is Us. And I love how they really, really focus on the legacy that you're going to leave behind. And I just love the fact that, you know, when I'm gone, there's going to be a little piece of me still here. And that I enjoy watching them. I gave birth to my best friends, basically, and we've been through a lot. And I mean, I know sons are probably fun to have as well, but daughters are the best. We dress the same, and don't know how long I can keep that up for, because my oldest is going to be 10, my youngest is 6, so I think I maybe got another year of like all of us dressing the same. We chat, we talk, we gossip, we sing Hamilton all day long, you know. So I literally gave birth in lockdown. It wasn't so bad. I mean, it was stressful, but I had someone to talk to, and they are literally, they're the funniest people. They're divas, I'm not gonna lie, and I have no idea where they get that from, because obviously it's not me. No idea. But they're my best friends, and that's what, and in turn with my mum, she's one of my best friends as well. And so I love the fact that I'm best friends with my mum, they're best friends with me, and they love their grandma. So it's a real tight-knit kind of circle that we have, and I love that.
I think for me, the revelation was that it's okay to exist separately from your child, if that makes sense. So growing up and seeing like my friends and stuff have kids, their whole world's always revolved around their kids. They never actually kind of took time for themselves. Every decision that they made was for their child. And I think having a child of my own, I actually realized I felt like I was going to lose myself when I got pregnant. I was like, right, this is it. My life's over. Everything is going to be around like the existence of this person that I've made. And actually, I think a really positive revelation was that it's, as a mum, you can have that title of being a mum, but you can also have that individual title of being yourself as well. And I think my daughter, I don't know how, because I haven't instilled this in, well, I don't feel like I've instilled it in her. She is someone that will, you know, she'll say, Mom, it's okay if you've got to go to work, or if you want to go out, it's okay, you can go out, I can go to granddad's, or I can do this. And I think every time I hear her say that and know that she is actually okay when she's not with me has been a massive revelation for me, and also makes me realize that I think a lot of mums do center themselves around their children, and that is fine to do that, but also being able to exist by yourself and still being Carina and not mum is also something equally as powerful, because I feel like as mums, when you have your children, you start to lose yourself, and your whole identity is that you're a mum.
Yeah, I can't argue that. And the other question I was going to ask were what were some of the rude awakenings that having children or having a child happened to you that you couldn't have foreseen? Because I think one of the things I realized very quickly is that my childhood wasn't smooth, and I knew that I put everything into making sure that my child's life was as smooth, perfect as possible as I could make it. But then I realized I had a lot, she was a mirror to myself, so I had to hold that up to myself and work on a lot of stuff that I had to resolve, so I wouldn't project my issues onto her, because I'm trying to create this fully formed human being without issues, right? So I just wanted to know what were some of your rude awakenings. And I say rude as in something that just made you like, oh shoot, I've got to work on this, or I've got to sort this out. Or even something that you notice in your children, like, okay, if I don't nip this, that, or the other in the bud, we could be on a path to something else.
I'd definitely say being outspoken. My daughter is very outspoken, and it's like I have an answer for everything, and I'm starting to see it in her. And not that it's a negative, but it's understanding when to speak out and how to speak out, and kind of explaining to her and letting her know when is appropriate to use your voice and when to be quiet and listen to what people are saying. I think sometimes Natalie can probably vouch for this with me as well. Sometimes I listen to reply and not listen to understand. And I feel like my daughter, you'll say something to her and she hasn't understood what I'm saying. She's just replying because she needs to answer back. And when I look at it, actually I do it a lot. And I think because she's at that preteen age, you know, she's going to be 11 next month, so that's something that I'm having to look at myself and say, okay, you know what, I need to start listening to understand as opposed to listening to reply. And I think as well, at one point, my mum died when I was very young, when I was 17. And I think in that interim period before she passed away, when she was really ill, she did instill in us to those survival skills to be able to exist without her being here. And sometimes I find that I treat my daughter like that I'm instilling survival skills in her, because I'm thinking one day I'm not going to be here, so she needs to be able to exist without me. But actually, that doesn't always need to be the way. She's still, you know, she's still young. I don't need to put her onto this pedestal where she needs to be a survivor, if that makes sense. Like I can still protect her. I can still, and not say I don't protect her, but I think that's been quite, that's definitely been a revelation recently as well. And I've had to look back on kind of the past 10, 11 years. And I am a very, very laid back mother. I really am. But, you know, I think I need to find that balance where I'm still laid back, but also still protect her.
Natalie, I'll come to you in a sec just to answer, but I was just going to say I 100% went through the same thing with my daughter. I think growing up with certain abandonment issues made me feel like I've got to protect my daughter from losing me just in case. So then I started to be quite, if she was clingy, I got quite frustrated with it. So I was like, no, and kind of maybe told her off a bit more, like, go over there, don't, you know, and it was trying to protect her. But actually when I realized I was having an effect on her, and I think one time she actually said to me, sometimes mommy, you push me away. And I was like, oh, it was a light bulb. And we worked on it. And now like we're bench and batty, as they say. So, but I mean, children, they're the best mirrors to, if you're open to those clues and signals, then they really do help you.
For me, slightly different to Carina, my rude awakening was definitely hormonal. And the changes that my body went through. Mm-hmm. I talk about this all the time. I grew a beard throughout both my pregnancies, sideburns that came all the way down. I became literally a hairy monster. Still am that. I was thinking, oh, it'll go. No, it's still there. There's a lot of waxing, or actually not so much waxing anymore. I just can't be bothered. But a lot of trying to hide it. And that was a rude awakening, because I don't want a beard. I want to be smooth, and I loved my breasts. They were like nice, pert, like really beautiful breasts, and they're just not now. And you know, stretch marks, which is, you know, so that to me was, I thought I was going to be that lucky one that doesn't get the stretch marks, that just has the smooth belly. No. Yeah. So, yeah, just the losing of my body, the losing of the freedom of, you know, my boobs actually standing up and not just drooping down, and yeah, just having to be plucking my chin every single day, because literally the growth just doesn't stop. And I never had that before children, and so when I'm plucking, I am plucking and thinking of my child, and just did it for you.
I must have, my child always gets like, you know, I was a size 8, 10 before I had her, and look at me now. I mean, I'm grateful for the assets that I've developed since having a child. Yes. But yeah, boobs used to be nice apples, and now they're
However, scooped up.
Nothing prepares you for that. You know, you just think that you're going to be the one that doesn't have to have the pregnancy nose, where your nose gets spread out, and that you're going to be, you know, if you do give birth, you know, naturally or not naturally, like your vagina is going to stay intact. Like it does not happen, guys. Just telling you now, things change.
I mean, I think I'm sure Victoria Beckham and I had our children at the same time, whichever one's her oldest. I think so, because I remember her getting all the press attention about going really skinny, and that happened to me. So I was defending her, saying, "No, this is what happens. You get really skinny, and it's fine." And then it wasn't. But yeah. So, so there's in this kind of rude awakening and stuff like that, and trying to do best for our children, there is this whole strong black mother, black woman narrative. I mean, strong black woman, of course, but then also there's this strong black mother who, the matriarch of the family, who holds everything together whilst working 12 jobs, got 20 kids hanging off her breasts, all that type of stuff. Her man might be there, might not be there. How have you guys navigated the strong black mother trope? And has it hindered you? Has it helped you? Have you leaned on it, or, you know, pushed away from it? What's been your experience?
I think for me, it's that idea of you just get on with it. You don't have time to kind of moan about being tired from work. Or I remember when my daughter I went back to work when my daughter was maybe about 5-6 months old, and I was having to get up at 5 a.m. to cook dinner, and then getting ready for work, going to work, doing the nursery run, going to work, then coming in, picking her up from nursery, eating, giving her food, putting her to bed, and then going to bed, and then it started again. And there was times where literally in the middle of the night, she'd be up from like 2-3 a.m. And then by the time she goes back to bed, I'm looking at my clock and I'm like, oh my God, my alarm's going to go off in half an hour. And I've been up for like 4 hours. And you just can't, like, there was so many times I had like a little cry, but then you kind of suck it up, you get up and you start your day and you get on with it. And that's been like a continuous thing throughout kind of her being here, that when there's times where I have to be that strong mother or that strong black mother, you just get on with it, you do it, you get on with it, you suck it up. But what I have learn over the years is it's okay to call on your village. You don't have to be strong by yourself. You know, the girls from Dope Black Mums, they're amazing, because I know that if there's something that I'm struggling with, I can call them and say, look, what do you think I should do? You know, and I have a support system there. I then have a support system in terms of my immediate family and then my friends. And so I think yes, that trope is there, that you have to be, or people perceive that you just are this strong black woman or strong black mother, and you just get on with it, you suck it up. And you don't have to always be like that. And I think that's something I've learned over the years, that actually you can call on your village to help. But there are still times, even to this day, that, you know, I just get on with things, and you suck it up, you get on with it, and you be the best mother that you can be. And there is no perfect way to mother. There's no perfection of black motherhood. You make it what is perfect for you, or what works for you and your family. And I think what was really interesting is the woman, Turquoise, the main character in the film, I saw that a lot with her, that, you know, she had a lot of trials and tribulations in her life, and she just sucked it up and she got on with it. And you didn't once see her cry, apart from that one moment in the film, which I don't want to spoil it, but I could understand why it was like, all right, fine, I'm gonna cry now because this is too much. So yeah,
it was like a planned cry. I've got to turn it back off again. Natalie?
Yeah, I quite enjoy the strong black mother / woman narrative, because it's the absolute truth. And so I'm not going to shy away from something that, you know, I don't embody. I definitely am a superwoman, and I have to remind myself that, because I do so much, because I've got so many dreams and I've got so many hustles, and I want to do so much. And I know, especially in this climate, in the world we live in, unfortunately, black women, we're the lowest we're the lowest when it comes to opportunities. Like it's harder for us, and especially as a dark-skinned Black woman, it's even harder. You know, I'm in the acting industry, I'm in the business industry, in the corporate industry. It is so hard, and you're always up against, you know, someone who is lighter or white or just someone who just doesn't look like you, and so you have to fight even harder. And so I've always done that. From when I was a child, I'm the oldest in my family as well. So like Carina said, it is okay to show weakness and to call on your friends, and always check on your strong friends. That's the saying, that because I'm the strong friend, and so I need my friends to sometimes check in on me, because I'm always checking in on everyone else. So as long as my friends, which they do, check in on me, then let's get this. Look, life is short. And I'm happy to be that strong woman to go and get shit, because I've got stuff to do. And I want to be living comfortably. I want my girls to have a childhood and have a life the same way I was very privileged growing up. So I want them to have that same privilege as well.
Absolutely hear you on that. And you mentioned goals and stuff like that. I mean, you had dreams. What did I do? I was a hairdresser, then I worked at the BBC, and I was working at Channel U. So I had all these hopes and ideals of what I wanted to do. And I found myself really, I think when my daughter turned about maybe 6, 7, and I realized that I was doing too much, because I was working a 9 to 5, then coming home, maybe booking 3 hair clients in the evening, because that was what I was used to before child, or maybe when she was super baby, when she was with a childminder or something like that. But when she started going to school and I was trying to fit this schedule in, it became way too much. So I had to adjust my goals. And actually, before I got pregnant, I was working in a hairdresser's, and my dreams were to, you know, I was going to go to America and do Beyonce's hair for sure. But
there's still time.
Exactly. There's nothing with children. There's nothing better than having children. They humble you.
They really do.
They humble you and they center you a lot of the time. Not all the time, but I found that my kids, they humbled me and they centered me. Before children, I was trying to go to every audition and try and get this acting job and that acting job and do all that. And then I had kids and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to calm it down a second and just have a focus. And that's the beauty of that. And it actually came at a perfect time. And so they became my world rather than everything else. And everything else just has to fit into my world.
And that's what I was going to ask, because that what were your goals pre-motherhood, and then did they change post-motherhood, and how did you adapt them? Because my adaptation was I took a part-time role, and so I could be present at the school gates and then build on my dreams alongside my child. So I wasn't shouting at her because I was tired, because I was doing the most. Yeah. How did pre-motherhood goals, post-motherhood goals?
You have to, pre-motherhood, my dreams haven't changed. That's the one thing. So my dreams before I was pregnant and my dreams after children are exactly the same. My dream is to be an actress, is to work and successfully work in TV, film, theatre, and make a career out of it. That has always been the end goal. But obviously, to get to that end goal, you're going to have little pit stops and little milestones in order to achieve that. And so when I did become pregnant and had children, I did have to think, okay, so a 9 to 5 isn't really going to work for me right now as they're so young. What can I do? And that's when we become super women, because we start to think, okay, what can I do from home? What business can I do? And you start to think of, like, my business is with another mum who was pregnant at the same time as me. We've been in business together for 5 years, and we just were talking about ideas over our play dates. And it was such a great way to start, and we brainstormed, and then we came up with all these different ideas. And now in our 5th year, we've come up with an even better idea that's just going to take the country and Christmas by storm. So it's you adapt, but the dream has always, and that's when you know it's a real dream. When it doesn't falter, you just might have a different route in how you get there.
What I would say is just slightly different to Natalie. I didn't have the luxury of saying a 9 to 5 doesn't work for me. I had to make it work with a child. Like I said, she was having to go to nursery, and I was really lucky because her nursery had extended hours, so they didn't close at 6 o'clock. You could pay extra and have them there till like 7, 8 o'clock. I was working in sports, so that required me to be at different football clubs, to be up in Manchester, to be in Liverpool. So I was traveling. So it got to the point where I was like, okay, if this is what I'm doing. I've got to make this work somehow. So it was utilizing those extra hours at nursery and having to pay a ridiculous amount of money. Like, I swear I probably could live in a mansion right now if I was paying per week what I was paying.
Those nursery fees, I'm like, what are you teaching them Shakespeare?
No,
Are they
honestly,
coming home with a PhD? Because
Nursery
yeah.
fees and nappy fees, as far as I'm concerned, nappy fees and nursery fees, both of them need to.
It's ridiculous. But you know, so I was having to make that choice, and then when she started at primary school, again having to utilize breakfast club, after school club, and I wasn't really getting to see her that much, because then at the weekend I might have to go to a football match, or I might have an event or something like that. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, do I sacrifice progressing in work, or do I spend more time with my daughter? And that was a constant battle, like constant, between her formative years, like growing up. Now she's at an age where she understands, but she's always seen mum work. I remember I took 3 years out to go back to uni, but because I still had nursery fees and things like that to pay, I literally was doing like my work placement Monday to Friday, and then working in retail on a Saturday and Sunday. So I was literally working 7 days a week. And so she's always seen this and she understands. And I'm like, for you to be able to go on holidays and for you to be able to do this, I've got to go to work. So she understands that. And I think it's given her an idea of work ethic and what you kind of need to do to survive or to be successful. And I think now, you know, she's at an age where she can come to things with me. So, you know, she'll come in from school, she'll be like, Mum, do you have a Zoom today? Or, you know, and she'll be like, are you going here today? Or do you have a meeting? And so that's become her norm. And so if I do have events and stuff, she's at an age where actually she can come with me now, so she can experience that and learn as well. So I would hope that these early experiences will shape her when she's older, to let her know that she can do anything that she wants to do. She wants to be. She can do absolutely anything if she works hard for it.
Yeah, I'm so relating to what you're saying. Absolutely. And as you mentioned, shaping their futures. In the film, we see that Turquoise is so determined to shape Kai's future to the point where she's possibly overlooking her child's true dreams and hopes. So I don't know how you guys have navigated. Your girls are young. My daughter's 20. How, as Black mums, how do you manage the reality of sexism, racism, versus letting your children achieve all their hopes and dreams, or dream big and not feel stifled? Because I think we do, as Black people, as we mentioned, like the stuff that we go through in reality does make us very fearful, very cautious. And I know my mum kind of told me to do the bog standard career path, take the bog standard career path, because she was so frightened of something creative, because she wasn't sure it'd be secure, me being Black, but her being from a different generation as well. So I just wanted to know how you guys navigate that by letting, even if your child says, I want to be an astronaut, sure, go ahead. But by the way, how many Black astronauts are there? Women astronauts are there? And then blah, 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 blah. How do you?
It's funny you say that, because my daughter wanted to be a pilot. She'd been saying for because she's always gone on holiday. She's always flown from early. You know, I encourage, well, go and see if they'll let you in the cockpit. Go and say hello to the pilot. And you know, and there's a airline we generally tend to fly with, and they give the kids like these little books for each time they go on the plane. They can ask the pilot to sign it, and they'll say like how many nautical miles they've traveled and whatever. And, you know, she said she wants to be a pilot. And as we know, how many Black pilots do you see? And then how many women pilots do you see? But, you know, I encourage it. Go, you know, she's still young. You can, like I said, I encourage her to know that she can do absolutely anything that she wants to do, or be anything she wants to be. She's switched from wanting to be a pilot now to wanting to be a hairdresser. And I'm like, if you want to be a hairdresser, be a hairdresser. Own as many hair salons as you want, or be a celebrity hairdresser if that's what you want to do. I'm going to encourage that. I'm sure at some point it will probably change and she'll probably want to do something else. But again, I'm going to encourage that. So she wants to be a teacher. Fine, I'm going to encourage that. What I don't want is, I remember my dream was to be a doctor. I always wanted to be a doctor. From when my earliest memory is about 7, and going to visit my aunt in Miami, and she's a doctor there, and I always wanted to be a doctor. And growing up, I said, right, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a doctor. My mum got ill. I was like, right, I'm definitely going to be a doctor because I need to find the cure for cancer. So I'm definitely going to be a doctor. Went into school, into secondary school, and going into like doing GCSEs and A-levels, and being told by a biology teacher, yeah, you probably need to think of something else because you're not going to be a doctor. You're not going to do well in biology or chemistry. And, you know, my parents and my family had instilled in me, you can do whatever you want to do. But then I remember doing my first year of A-levels and taking biology, and I had 2 biology teachers, and one of them absolutely hated me and was the one who told me, yeah, you're never going to be a doctor, you probably might want to do something else. I remember the first assignment that I did 2 assignments, one for each teacher. For one teacher, I got an A+. Teacher that liked me, A+. The teacher who didn't like me, I got like a D or an E, something like that. And I'm like, how is that possible? And that really, really, like, it really threw me off, because I was like, these people are actually the ones that are in control of me succeeding. As much as I think I can be anything, if you have somebody marking your work who is deliberately marking you down because they feel that you're not going to achieve something, then what's the point? And I think because of that, similar to in the film, where, you know, Turquoise feels that she there's more that she could have done, she could have been more, and so she pushes that onto her daughter. I do say to my daughter, you know, you can be anything that you want to be, because right now I could have been a doctor, guys. Like, I could have been a doctor, but that was taken away from me early on. And so because of that, I don't want my daughter to go through that. I don't want anyone to ever tell her that she can't do something because she's Black, because she's a woman, because she's dark skinned. I would never want anyone to tell her that. So from early, I need to instill in her that don't worry about what anyone says to you, because you are more than capable of achieving anything that you want to be, regardless of how big or small that dream is.
Well done. Sorry.
Oh, you're
Edit that bit out. Natalie, please answer.
Well, I didn't want to be a doctor, although I have watched enough Grey's Anatomy and ER to probably pass as a doctor.
Same.
Yes.
Same.
I know what a GSW is. I need ONEG stat. Give me a 10 blade. Like,
intubate.
Yeah, I can intubate. I think I do quite good. So I think I could play a doctor. But yeah, no, I think my mum always encouraged me. I went to the Brit School of Performing Arts from the age of 14. So for her to take me out of normal, traditional private school and put me into the Brit School at the age of 14 was a big gamble for her. But she was like, you know, she wants to sing and dance and perform. So why would I force her to do anything else? But she did instill in me so much values that I still made I made sure I went to university. I got a degree in drama and English, and I went into drama school and I got a master's in acting. So I made sure I had those kind of pillars behind me, and I was able to do lots of things with that degree, and I really was. But with my children, you know, at the moment, they want to be everything. My daughter and I, we've actually acted together a few times in adverts and in a few series, and she absolutely adores it. So if she wants to be a performer, then obviously I'm going to let her be a performer. I think as long as they're doing something, that's for me the main thing. There's nothing worse than talented or intelligent people just not doing anything. And I think that I would hate to see wasted talent like that. And so I just want to focus on, as long as they're passionate or they want to do something, then I will support you, like, no matter what.
Okay, that's fair. So I guess we've talked about the schooling and dreams being shut down from the outside. What are some of your frustrations in seeing your children through through the UK's education system and things like that? I had to battle in my daughter's primary school and battle in my daughter's secondary school, and she went to a great secondary school on paper, but racism and the classism was sky high, and I was down that school all the time. And though it was it looks great on her CV that she went to that school, I am sorry for the shit that she had to go through. So what are some of do you have any frustrations with the school educational system, and especially how it pertains to young, I guess we've all got girls, so young Black girls, and how what they're learning?
I get annoyed with the differences between America and the UK. And in Juneteenth, you know, there's so much focus on the scholarship. You can get a scholarship for almost anything in America and get to go to a fantastic university, and it's all paid for, no debts, whatever, because you've got that scholarship. Whereas in the UK, we just don't have that mindset. The only kind of scholarships you could probably get is maybe a maths one, or you know, something scientific, maybe a creative one, but they're very few and far between. And so for me, I love how Americans, they champion literally every sport. Like, you could go and get a scholarship for archery, you get a scholarship for dance, you can get a scholarship for all these different things. And in the UK, you can't. And not everyone wants to be a scientist, not everyone wants to be a mathematician. Some people are creative, and that for me is really frustrating. Also, and I think there's obviously, this is the year that, you know, people realize that Black people lived in the UK and that racism exists. Well, welcome to 2020. So, you know, what's being taught in schools is really now under investigation. And I'm so glad that people are really now going, hey, what's being taught to my kids? What education is this? This isn't Black history. This is white history with a Black kind of, you know, highlight reel. Yeah. And so I think that's really great. And also, myself as a parent, I've been doing a lot more this year in terms of teaching. I took my girls to the march for the Black Lives Matter thing, and they didn't have a clue. They're like, why are we going? I'm like, because we've got to stand for what's right. And they absolutely loved it. And I was so proud that I got to take them to a part of history that they will remember for the rest of their lives. So I've woken up this year. And so if I've woken up, and I know white people have woken up, this is a year of awakening. So I do think there will be a shift. I do think there will be change, but it is going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of people doing a lot to move forward.
I think for me, my frustrations with the education system, I'm not frustrated with my daughter's primary school. She's very, very lucky. Her head teacher is Jamaican. He's a Jamaican man. Her class teacher that she had for year 5 and year 6 is a Jamaican woman, and they don't play. They do not play. And and when I say they're Jamaican, they grew up in Jamaica. So a lot of the values and morals that they took from their education back home, they instill across the whole school. So I've never actually had any issues with her primary school ever, and I do put that down to the fact that they are a very, very diverse school in their teaching staff, and the head of the school is Black. I think in terms of primary education, you know, they concentrate on the wrong thing. Like, the government have them concentrating on the wrong thing. In like year 1 and year 2, they concentrate on handwriting. You have to have joined up handwriting. I think for me, my frustrations with the education system, I'm not frustrated with my daughter's primary school. She's very, very lucky. Her head teacher is Jamaican. He's a Jamaican man. Her class teacher that she had for year 5 and year 6 is a Jamaican woman, and they don't play. They do not play. And and when I say they're Jamaican, they grew up in Jamaica. So a lot of the values and morals that they took from their education back home, they instill across the whole school. So I've never actually had any issues with her primary school ever. And I do put that down to the fact that they are a very, very diverse school in their teaching staff, and the head of the school is Black. I think in terms of primary education, you know, they concentrate on the wrong thing. Like, the government have them concentrating on the wrong thing. In like year 1 and year 2, they concentrate on handwriting. You have to have joined up handwriting. Why? Like, what? Like, why? Why is that something that you are teaching and forcing the kids to write joined up? Because that for me, that's not a necessity. The necessity is actually teaching them ABC, how to count, times tables, and, you know, actual tangible things. Spending a year, 2 years on teaching a child how to have joined up handwriting and making sure that they're writing joined up is irrelevant to me. And, you know, having experienced the education system myself as well back home in Jamaica, I can see the differences. And what, you know, in Jamaica, they don't care whether you're writing joined up or not. And actually, they've got one of the best education systems in the Caribbean. I think what I will have problems with is secondary school for her, just simply because the ones that we are looking at, I know there's no black head teachers there. I also know that they're not very diverse, and she'll probably come up against the same issues that you've come up across with your daughter, Akua, in terms of racism, classism, and just discrimination. And to be honest, I'm ready for it. If I have to go up to that school every single day, then they're going to see my face every single day. And I'm a school governor as well at secondary school, so I also know how schools should be operating and how to hold them accountable. So I do feel sorry for whatever school my daughter ends up in, because I'm going to be that mum that they're going to be like, oh gosh, here comes Carina again.
Yeah, I pride myself in being that mum. My daughter's like, mum, like, and when she's talking about, I feel chuffed when she talks about it to her friends, like, yeah, my mum was down school all the time. I enjoyed it. I got a vibe. I hated the fact that I was going down there to defend my child, but I wasn't having it, because there was just some real strong ignorance.
Yeah. Also, it's making sure that your child as well, like, I'm not someone who defends her for the sake of defending her. If she's in the wrong, she will hear my mouth as well. But at the same time, and also as well, I'm that mum that gets annoyed when someone does something to her and she doesn't do what she knows she should be doing. So if someone is calling her names, she's like standing there and getting upset. And I'm like, why have you not pulled them up about it? Like, I haven't raised you to sit there and take someone, verbally abusing you or whatever. So yeah.
It's very hard. It's like we're at school with them too, to be honest. And secondary school is a minefield. So good luck. Call me anytime. One thing we haven't touched on before we wrap up is the beauty side of it, because it is about a pageant. The core thing is a pageant. We don't have that in the UK at all. Again, there are some traditions that they have in America, Black America has, that I wished we had over here. Maybe not so much pageantry, but that whole, refined ladies, how to become, maybe it's archaic, but I just like the idea of something along those lines. But again, you've all said you've got girls, beauty is a problem. Again, I went through some stuff with my child in being beautiful, in her identity as being beautiful, recognized as beautiful, having the whole of dark skin issues, having natural hair, being told, why haven't you got weave? And this is from her peers, fellow peoples, black and white, who've been sold the brainwash that a black girl's got to have either soft hair or a weave to be beautiful and things like that. How are you guys navigating that conversation, or preparing your girls for the, this kind of, because you said something earlier, Natalie, that it's become so easy to say that black women are at the bottom of the pile, and we say it, and our girls are going to grow up within that, have grown up within that. How are you countering that narrative for them?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's a lot of self-love. And I mean, I'm really lucky. My girls are so confident, and they're so I don't know what it is that I did, and I wish I could tell you. I just did the best that I could, but there was no formula. I just literally just raised them, and I guess they see me doing a lot of things, but they also see my hair in different ways. They see my hair in braids with crochet. They see it in an afro. They see it straightened. And I do the same with their hair. I sometimes they'll have a GHD that goes through it. Sometimes they've got their puff puffs, which they love. Sometimes it's in braids. And they love every single look. And I love that they love that. So I think it's just giving them choice and giving them, and not trying to stunt them. They see me put on makeup, and so if they want to try it, I'm not going to say no, like they're going to enjoy it, and I want them to enjoy their skin color, enjoy their hair, enjoy everything about them, because black is beautiful, and they know that. I don't know how they know that, because it's not as if we sit there and go, right, we're going to do affirmations today. I am beautiful. I am wonderful. I don't do that, but somehow that's what they've become, and I'm truly blessed with that, and I just hope it carries on. But like you said, senior school is a minefield, and it's always going to be those other little people, those other kids that ruin your child, and that's what I'm fearful of. And when that day comes, I will just handle it how I've handled it before. We sit down, we talk, we dissect it, we laugh, and then we move on. And I think that's a really good way of instilling some sort of like coping mechanism. Like, we can't dwell on this. We have to kind of get up and carry on.
Yeah, I think similar to Natalie, you know, my daughter has seen me in lots of different hairstyles. Today I'm wearing a wig. She knows that my natural hair is underneath it. You know, sometimes she'll see me walk out with, I call them my gel braids. So the cane rows underneath that go underneath your wig. And sometimes I don't feel, I remember over the summer when it was really, really hot and I had one of my wigs on and I was like, I'm so hot. And I took off the wig and I was in the car and she was like, don't have any shame. I said, shame about what? No. I was like, it's my hair, so what? And she's like, okay. And I think things like that, like I'm not a slave to my hair, if that makes sense. I have lots of different hairstyles, wigs, box braids, you know, plaits, cane rows. I wear my hair in so many different ways that I want her to know that if you want to switch up your style, you can switch up your style. And, you know, she sometimes wears her hair in an afro. Sometimes she has box braids. She's actually now been given a job as hair editor for one of the new like Black girl magazines that have come out, and she takes so much joy in kind of researching what hairstyles to encourage other girls that look like her to have their hair in. And I think the one thing that I'm not worried about in terms of her hair or not loving her hair, I think the big thing for me is that I would worry about with her going secondary school is loving her body, loving the body that she's in and loving her skin tone. Because we can raise our kids to absolutely love themselves, to adore themselves. But like Natalie said, as soon as they step out into society, they will come across people that are telling them the complete opposite and are making them question whether they're too big or whether they're too thin or whether they're too dark or whether they're too light. And we can't prepare our kids for that. So all we can do is just encourage them to love themselves, to love the body that they're in. And like Natalie said, if they come across those instances where they're being told they're not good or they don't look good or they're too big or they're too small, we just have to deal with that as and when it happens.
Yeah, there's no real like proper answer. There's no real, like, everyone's going to get it wrong. Some people are going to get it right. You're going to have mummy fails. Oh my God, I've had so many mummy fails. But as long as you carry on and you don't give up, that's the main thing. You know, they're going to watch you and they're going to see that. And also surrounding them with images of positive Black people, positive Black role models. Their bookcase is filled with Black stories where the characters aren't, you know, they're not being slaves, they're not, you know, being oppressed. They're ballerinas, they're private eyes, they're doctors, they're, you know, they're doing lots of different fun things. They watch a lot of shows on Netflix as well, like Free Reign, where there's a Black lead, or Family Reunion with the girl from Sister Sister, and you know, so they see Black images all the time. So to them, it's Black is beautiful because it's normal and it's what they see all the time. So that's why it's important that we make sure that imagery is right in the media, because that's what they're going to be seeing all the time.
Ladies, it's been wonderful speaking to you guys. We should do it more often.
Yeah,
mothers need to get together and chat more often, for sure.